Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we're bringing you another A Link Between Worlds round 4 match between Herreteman and benstephens56. Today I am joined by Romulus on commentary, and I will turn it over to him. Okay, let's start this over again. I didn't realize I was deafened. Hello and welcome to A Link Between Worlds Any Percent. This is round 4 match between Herreteman and benstephens56, and I am joined by Romulus on commentary, and I will turn it over to him.
Alright, so I think they are ready. Yeah, just started. So we have Herreteman against Ben. I believe both of them will be using the same route, which would be the Fire Rod route. And it's actually the fastest one, but it also relies on some extra rupee drops later, so they can rent all the items they needed. And let's see how it goes. Right here at the start, there's nothing much going on. They'll just be following Gooey around. And both of them are using the English version because it has the fewest amount of text boxes. So it's the fastest language. So for this game, you actually are forced to save right at the start by using that weather vane right there. It's actually useful to get it because after they beat the first dungeon, they will gain the ability to warp around. So it will be pretty useful since they have to go back to Link's house a bunch of times. Alright, so here they're getting the Captain's Sword. Before they deliver it, they're going to activate another weather vane here in Kakariko. And right after that, they are going to Death Mountain. It's going to be useful to get this weather vane here because they will have to, after they beat the first dungeon, they will have to go all the way to the east part of the map, and then they have to come back here, so it saves a lot of time from walking around. So Trek says Death Mountain early, you need to do a damage boost using the Crow. So they just jump. Oh, okay, so Ben got it. Herreteman is reloading the area, so he doesn't have to make the Crow move again. Oh, and he failed. No, the chokes. Anyway, right here, Ben's trying to get a few rupees from the pots because Oh, really nice. He got red rupee. That's really good RNG. Because he's gonna have to rent a few items. And the game, when you do this glitch here, it's going to open Ravio's shop early. And normally you have the first item rental for free. So I believe both runners are going to get the fire rod first, which costs 100 rupees. And they need 10 rupees to get the bow. Right now Ben's doing a death warp to go back to Link's house, and Ravio will be there. Let's see. Herreteman was waiting, see if the boulder would break the rock and would drop some rupees, but he was really unlucky. He still needs 5 rupees. And also they get that weather vein because it's just faster to warp when they need to beat the other dungeons. Alright, so now Ben's going to deliver the sword to the captain. And he's going to the castle, but the guard's gonna say he needs to go to the sanctuary. Also, he still has 10 rupees, which is really useful for this route, because he would otherwise have to rely on RNG to get some money later. The same goes for Herreteman. He has 13 rupees spare. Also here, you normally would collect 50 rupees on your way until the end of the sanctuary. Since they have a few rupees from the Death Mountain segment, they could also skip a few blue rupees here. I'm not sure if they are going to do that. Yeah, they are going really safe, since it's a race. The problem with the Fire Rod route is, if you get really unlucky, you could just not get enough rupees by the time you beat Tower of Hera and get the Master Sword. So you'd have to try to kill a few enemies and get more money so you can just rent out the items. So it's probably the best option here is just lose a few seconds here and guarantee the money. And Herreteman has 28 rupees. for later. Another thing of having a lot of money here is they could also skip a red rupee after they get the Zora flippers, which should save around 4 seconds. From that start, both runners have the potential to skip the red rupee. So the reason they needed 50 rupees from the sanctuary is they are going to rent the tornado rod because it's really useful for the first dungeon. You can perform a trick that allows you to skip the boss key. So for the start of Eastern Palace, you don't want to lose much time for the first two rooms because there's a cycle of those cannonballs, and by using the invincibility frames, you could skip the bigger one. They will also make sure to get a few rupees here and there. So for the boss key skip, he's basically going to use the Armor's Knight. He's going to get really close to the wall, take damage, and while Link has the invisibility frames active, he's basically going to use the Tornado Rod as the Armor's Knight is getting closer. So instead of like taking damage, he's going to get pushed onto the wall. It's a little bit tricky. Ooh, Herreteman is catching up. Seems like Ben is going too early. And it's also important to not die in this game, because if you die, you lose all the items you had. So for the Yuga fight, you basically just use the arrows to stun him. And I forgot to mention, but when you open Ravel's shop early, you skip the small tutorial that teaches you how to use the stamina. And although it's not showing, the stamina is still there, so the runners have to manage the item usage. For example, they can shoot 5 arrows in a row before they run out of stamina. It's gonna be important later for some boss fights. Alright, that's basically Eastern Palace. They made sure to get some rupees so they can rent some stuff later and finish a few quests. Now, Herreteman is going back to Link's house, and he's probably going to rent the bombs and the hammer. The reason why this route works is Ravio gives you a discount for the hammer. It normally costs 50 rupees, but if you do this order for the rental, it's going to cost 20 rupees. And the same goes for Ben. You're going to get the same items. And by crossing the bridge, they will meet Irene, and she's gonna give them the bell so they can start warping around, which is going to save a lot of time from traveling by foot. I believe both runners are going to skip the red rupee. They just need a few rupees from RNG, pretty much. Also, Herreteman is getting this weather vane because, as I said earlier, he's basically going to go to Zora's waterfall, and then he has to warp to Kakariko, and then he has to come back here, so it's a lot faster to just warp. And here you actually don't need to enter the cave, you just need to watch this cutscene, you can just go to Kakariko. Going to get a silver rupee here as well, since he just spent 200 rupees. And yeah, From this point until the end of the game, he just needs 12 rupees, which should be very easy to get without losing time. Another mechanic that they can abuse for this game is, unlike A Link to the Past, when you stop the dash with the Pegasus boots, Link does that small slide animation, and that could be useful to skip a few gaps. If they go up the stairs, there would be a small cutscene, so he's going to do a damage boost here, using the Tornado Rod as well. It's also important to note that the cutscene, after he gets the Zora Flippers, cutscene would still be there, so they can't just leave using the stairs. See, yeah, Herreteman is skipping the red rupee from the river. Let's see what Ben does. He has 10 rupees less. Oh, Ben's getting the red rupee. So that pretty much settles it for him. Meanwhile, Herreteman needs 11 rupees. Alright, for this room, let's see which strat he's going for. Okay, he's going safe. There's a strat which you would actually have to use the Tornado Rod as you're falling into the void, so you can get onto the last platform right here. It saves around 7 seconds, but it's really risky. So he's just playing safe. Taking damage from the spikes, cancel the Tornado Rod animation. And for the small key here, you can just use the Tornado Rod. You don't even need to go to the other side and merge, get the key on the beam. Let's see if Ben's going safe or not. Okay, he's also going safe. So here, Herreteman is positioning the keys so he can skip turning the fan on just by using Tornado Rod and taking damage, boosting himself to the loading zone. Waiting for the platforms, using the dash slide cancel. so you won't have to wait. Alright, so for this boss there is a small stamina management going on. The runners are going to use bombs to damage him and then its eyes. And they can just place, I believe, 3 bombs before the stamina run out. So they have to be careful here. What they do to refill their stamina instantly is basically fall into the void, which Herreteman is going to do right now, I believe. Yeah. So that refills his stamina. Sometimes the runners are going to skip the hard container, but this one is actually a lot faster to get, because after you get it, the pendant will spawn immediately, otherwise they would have to wait a little. Oh no, he got hit. That boulder is a good place to get money. But it's still fine, he just needs 5 rupees. If he doesn't get any, by the time he finishes Tower of Hera, there is a blue soldier right before Lost Woods, which drops 5 rupees. No, don't die to the boulders. By doing that dash, he actually skipped having to leave the cave and re-enter the other side. For some reason, Link can just dash across the gap. He just needs to cancel it before he falls back down. Now Herreteman is going to do a trick called Bomb Rod, which he already did to skip a small cutscene before Zora Flippers. Basically going to raise the platform and use the Tornado Rod in a specific frame so he can reach the upper floor and remain out of bounds. And that saves around 1 minute for this dungeon. Okay, he got some money. But there's a problem. Since it's really precise, it's really common for runners to fail it a few times. Okay, he got it. And right here is one of the reasons why sometimes you lose a lot of time, because you have to manage your stamina. And here's he's waiting because he has to use the Tornado Rod 2 times in a row. Otherwise, he would fall down again. So I believe it was third try. It's not too bad. Let's see how it goes for Ben. Yeah, now Ben is waiting for his stamina to refill. Oh, it seems that Herreteman just missed the platform cycle. If you get the boss key really fast, you can just drop down and just use the mole to reach the boss door, but I don't know, it seems like he clipped into the chest. Not sure what happened. And here's the boss. The runners basically are going to use the bow to hit its tail, since it does 2 points of damage. It's a lot faster to just try to hit him. And Ben got the bomb rod. Now he's waiting for his stamina to refill. So let's see. Here, the runners can decide if they want to skip the heart container or not. Since they can just drop down and go back up, after they climb up again, the pendant will be there already without having to watch the cutscene of it spawning. It doesn't save much time. It's only worth going if you are on the upper part of the arena. Ooh, it seems that I pressed some buttons. The main problem of missing the first shot is Moldorm is so slow before it takes damage. It's kinda weird having to shoot again. Because first time he's always going to move in the same direction, so it's just easier to hit that way. And this puzzle here in Lost Woods, it seems really hard at first, but the positions of the ghosts are pretty much the same every time. You basically just have to see where they are going once they start splitting up. And the last one is always going to be having to go back again from the entrance. It's not really a big deal. First part here, it's always going to be the rightmost pole. so it has to go right. And the second one, it's always going to be the upper and bottom. From here, they just need to get the hook shot and the ice rod. But it's also important to go back to Ravel's shop because once they leave, they will get the quick equip mechanic. So they won't need to pause the game again to equip their items. And it's also useful because by using the item and then using the quick equip, you could cancel the item's animation. And that's going to be useful later for the Warrior dungeons, because there are a few tricks you could do with that. Mainly by using the fire and ice rods. So here, they just have to wait for Impa to return. Hyrule Castle is kind of messed up right now because you need to visit it before the first dungeon, but you never did that since they went to Death Mountain and opened the Ravel shop early. So before they are allowed to progress, they have to visit Zelda, who is not even there actually, and get the Pendant of Courage again. But this time they're getting the Pendant of Courage from none other than the Red Soldier. So for the Ball and Chain Soldier, you basically want to hit him 3 times and then use the ball just to reset, otherwise he would try to block and strike back. And that's Herreteman is just spamming quick equip cancel, so you can use the ice blocks faster. Now the same trick from the Eastern Palace boss key skip, except this one is much easier, using the armors to get pushed onto the wall. And now we finally get to see Zelda. So here's the second Yuga fight. For this one, he's basically going to make two clones of himself, and they all will merge with the wall. And you can tell which one is the real one by looking at the scepter. The one has fire on it, the real one. You can also tell where they are going unless they kind of overlap over each other. And normally for the second phase, you would have to do it 3 times, but you can just use 3 spin attacks the second cycle, and it just finishes the fight. Well, while Ben's starting the Yuga fight, Herreteman is about to start Warrow. And for Warrow, both runners are doing almost the same route, except for one dungeon. No, actually Ben is doing dungeons out of order compared to Herreteman. Anyway, both of them are going for the swamp first. It's important to get that weather vein because one of the dungeons is right next to the blacksmith house, and it's also really close to the castle, so they're going to do it west to skip a small cutscene, and also it happens to be really close to the final area. So one of the uses of the quick equip cancel allows them to skip the big bomb to drain the swamp entrance, so they can just use the ice block, clip out of bounds, and swing to the loading zone. And right now there are 2 choices. They could skip either the boss key or the boss itself. Herreteman is going for the boss key skip. He's going to do a quick equip cancel to just go out of bounds there. And by doing that, he can just get onto the wall and just walk to the boss room. where he will fight Argus. For the second phase, he will try to use the Ice Rod because Argus will try to jump around, so you can use the Ice Rod to just cancel the jump. Alright, so Ben's starting the swamp. And I believe he's doing boss skips, so you guys will have the chance to see both ways to finish the dungeon. And Ben got the first clip. You will have to raise the water levels, and then he's going to have to do another clip. That first one is actually the hardest, so he's almost done with the hard stuff. And meanwhile, Herreteman is going to the Desert Palace, but he's not even going to enter the dungeon. He's going to clip out of bounds, use the Tornado Rod, and use the Fire Rod to go and boost himself. So he's just going to dash to behind the boss arena, and by doing that dash slide, we can just get the heart container and the painting. Oh, and unfortunately Ben just clipped into the boss room. I believe I think he got the movement right. Not sure what happened. Probably move it too much to the left. For the last part, you basically need somewhat precise movement, because if you move too much into the boss room, you're basically going to clip and you have to fight Argus. If you are too much to the right, you're going to fall out of bounds. Wait, not out of bounds, into the void. So next, Herreteman is doing Skull Woods, and it seems that he's afraid of doing it. I'm not sure why. You just have to deal with a bunch of enemies moving around, and you have no control over that. It's not a big deal. It's just RNG. And right there he got a good RNG, because if the Gibdo is moving to the left, you can just either hitting or let the fire burn away the bandages, and can get across the room without having to wait for the fire bar. Oh my god, and that was 300 IQ. I don't think I've ever seen any other runner try to dash before opening the door. Definitely faster. Gonna make sure to steal the strats. So coming up, there's a really tricky room. There is a puzzle where you have to place 2 statues on the switches, but you can just place one of them and use the tornado rod on the expanding wall before the wall master appears. And it did it pretty well and got really lucky. The problem with that room is there are 3 enemies and they just can try to hit you, and you have to be really fast with the statue. And if you use the tornado rod as soon as the wall master spawns, he's just gonna grab you. Alright, next for Ben, he's going to do Ice Ruins, so he's going to warp to Death Mountain. It's important to mention that Herreteman is also going to do Ice Ruins next. And to get there, you would normally have to go through Russell's or mine in Hyrule. But here you can just use the Fire Rod, do a small damage boost, clip into the ropes, and use the hook shot to cross to the other side. By doing that, they also skip a small text from Hilda. So Herreteman is placing this, trying to place the... Oh no, that's bad. What he was trying to do was place the eyeball at a specific spot so he could just re-grab it without having to go all the way to the bottom part of the room, leave, and re-enter again to get the other one. That's really unfortunate. And trying to avoid the monster part. No, Herreteman got caught. Gonna have to bring the eyeball again. It's going downhill for him. No, he dropped the eyeball. Yikes. So anyway, Ben's going to skip the entire dungeon here. He's going to equip into the wall by using the elevator and try to do a dash as soon as possible so you can just get on the wall from the floor below. And here he just has to walk to the right. And oh no, he failed it. I think he moved too far to the left. What he was trying to do was to just fall onto the boss arena. Gotta be careful not to die. Dying here would be really bad. And Herreteman is just using the tornado rod to skip the boss. Alright, Ben got it. And by following on the upper parts of the arena, the actor of the boss is still there, although the fight doesn't start, so he just used the tornado rod 2 or 3 times and he kills it. And now Herreteman is going to Ice Ruins. By the time Herreteman finishes Ice Ruins, it's going to seem like he's really behind compared to Ben, but Ben still needs to do Skullwoods, so Herreteman is still in the lead. Right there, you just did a small trick with the tornado rod. When you try to merge, it kind of freezes the actor, so it saves a few frames by just using the tornado rod. Glide onto the platform. Ben just used the Snapdragon to clip onto the railing, so you can just skip most of the dark maze. And I think that was the first monster part of the run. Dark Palace, you were basically trying to solve a small puzzle so they can open the way to the boss door. And Herreteman got the Ice Ruins skip. Alright, so all that's left for Ben is to get the boss key. And meanwhile, Herreteman is making his way to Dark Palace. Here you are supposed to use the platform, but you can just throw bombs over the wall. Sometimes they could just clip when they get really close to the switch, or they could just fall off. It's really weird. So for the boss fight, Ben is going to place 3 bombs before he lights up the last torch. So when Jamesaur appears, he's going to take damage 3 times, and all that's left to finish this phase is to throw 1 last bomb on his mask. And now he's just going to keep moving around, being really annoying. Alright, that's actually what you would want from him for this phase. Basically just stand still and preferably not trying to bite you, but if he does, it's not a big deal. It's better than having him like moving around or just putting away the fire from the torches. So next for Ben is Tattoo Rock, and it's actually useful to just do it right afterwards, after beating Dark Palace, because normally you would have to go back to Hyrule and use a portal, but from that spot you can just use the Fire Rod boost and just walk out of bounds to the Lake Hylia area of Laurel. And to actually enter the dungeon, you have to rescue 3 turtles, but there's a small trick you can do. If you get really close to the dock, you kind of store the animation of Link jumping off from the water. Actually jumping out, sorry. And you can just use that to just climb up the wall. And the problem with that is you can press B to swing faster, or you take damage, otherwise it would just cancel the glitch. Alright, there we go. And Herreteman is having a really bad RNG. Dinosaur fight. Alright, so here Ben's going to use the Whiz Robe to skip the boss key. He's going to use his flames by using the Tornado Rod and taking damage. Just clips onto the railing right there. It's actually really easy to do this trick compared to the last boss key skip used. Not the last, the old one. So first phase of Grynex, basically just want to use a few ice blocks, try to make sure not making like get underneath the gratings. And that's pretty much it. Now for the second phase, there are 3 attacks that he could try to do. One of them is biting, the other one is spinning, and the third one is basically a huge explosion. You want him to just try to bite you, and be careful not to die. He's pretty much dead at this point. Yeah. I think he got good RNG. It's really bad when Grynex tries to spin around because you can actually cancel it by just taking damage, but it's bad if he decides to just keep spamming that move because he loses 2 hearts every time. Herreteman used the Tornado Rod too early. And there you go. I think both runners got the same monster part from the same skull right there. That's a good start for Herreteman. There's only 1 hit left. And there's a spin. Oh no, there's the third monster part. Don't die, not again. Okay, he survived. The more you damage Grynex, more chomps he's gonna try to do. So when he has only 1 HP left, he's going to do the triple chomp, which actually killed Herreteman in a race before. But he's fine. So all that's left for him is to beat Thieves' Hideout, whereas Ben still has to beat Skullwoods and Thieves. Alright, let's see how the next room goes for Ben. He has tried push the statue onto the switch before the Wall Master appears. Oh, he's gonna have to wait. The enemies started aggroing. And normally to access Thieves' Hideout you would have to learn the password, but it's always the same no matter the playthrough, so you can just go there and open the door right away. One thing that Herreteman is going to do is he's going to clip to the floor below, but beforehand he needs to open the door because he has to rescue Thief Girl, and the problem is he could just, if Thief Girl only could just like leap through the doors when backtracking, he would not need to do that, but since Link can walk through the doors, but Thief Girl can't, he has to open all of them, otherwise she would get stuck and he would have to go back and bring her again. So that's the first door. Now he's going to place the statues and use them to clip. Oh, that was really close, he almost failed it. I mean, he failed it, but it could be worse. It's a little bit precise. If you are holding on the bottom part of the statue, he will just fall the floor below. And Ben got the eyeball duplication. Using the same one without having to go to the bottom part of the room. And right there, Herreteman got the 2 cycle doors. Now for this point, he basically just needs to bring Thief Girl to the entrance again. Alright, Ben is about to start Thieves Hideout. I believe at this point they are around 4 minutes apart. Here, there's a small cutscene that Herreteman just did. If you don't go any closer to the red platform on the bottom part, the enemies won't spawn. Now Ben's about to clip. And he got it. So here, 2 enemies are going to spawn, and Herreteman is going to use 2 bombs, because while he's busy killing the enemy to the right, he's basically just going to let the bombs deal damage to the leftmost enemy. And Ben got recycled Zygors. So for this tall blind fight, you want to use the hammer because not only it deals 3 points of damage in contrast to the Master Sword, which only deals 2, but the hammer also hits the enemy twice, so it's a lot faster. Let's see, here can do 2 attacks. Spin attack, which is better in G, unfortunately. And got single hits. I think there's 1 left. Yeah. And there is the last painting. The reason why we do Thieves West nowadays is because after you save all the sages, there would be a cutscene where Link receives the Triforce of Courage, but once you beat Thieves, you would get the Sand Rod back. So both cutscenes are kinda overlapping right now. And after you get the Sand Rod back, the Warp Portal appears, so you can just leave. Herreteman is making a safe save in case he dies. So just like the enemy in the start of the Hyrule Castle, he's going to deal 3 sword slashes and then use the bolt to reset the fight, otherwise the enemy would block and try to attack again. So now Herreteman is making his way to the bomb trial, where he will try to perform the trial skip. There are 2 ways to skip the trials here. You could just use the big bomb or the small bomb. By using the small bomb, it's basically timing, but it's rather precise. You have, I think, between 1 and 2 frames, nobody knows exactly. Or you could use the big bomb trial skip, which is doing right now. It's basically position-wise in terms of precision. For the Ugeno fight, you basically want to use the bow as much as you can because it deals the same amount of damage as the Master Sword. And sometimes Ugeno could be in a position that he would block sword slashes, or he'd just walk really far away from Link. And once you start blinking red, there's a strategy you use by shooting an arrow as soon as he spawns. You kind of manipulate which attack he's going to do next. So if you get good RNG, he's going to throw his spear. If you get bad RNG, he's going to do the red pillar attack again, or red razor. And that's the first phase. Now for the second phase, you basically are going to play tennis against the enemy. Now, same thing as in the ice cave. You basically want to try to dodge the butterflies, because if you try to merge, you would lose 1 second in this fight. Just because the echoes would spawn, not spawn, they would stop for a moment. And it would just take longer for Ugeno to spawn again. Alright, Ben is doing trial skip right now. He's going for the big bone. And he got it. Oh, Herreteman got hit. He was too close, I think. The fight's pretty much over. All there's left to do is to get the Triforce. No, Ben. It's really low on health. That's scary. Because with that health, that red thrust right there could actually kill him. And that's time for Herreteman. Finish with a time of 1:28 from SRL. Not even sure what's going on with Ben's fight. Buffering non-stop here. Alright, back. No, it's not. Rip.
Yo.
Yo, congrats.
I didn't die to Icors. That's all I have to say. Because this run was absolute ass.
However, you almost died again. Grynex.
What? I don't understand what happened at Grynex. Why didn't he stop spinning? That was so weird. The angle was horrible. I don't know how I survived. But I did. It also forced me to grab one extra heart container. And I don't like that. I'm actually surprised that Ben didn't meet me. Where is he right now? Is he at Ugana?
I think there are 2 cycles for this tennis phase.
Oh, okay. What happened to him? How did he beat me with that skull woods?
He tried to do swamp boss skip and equipped into the boss room. And also he was really far behind by Eastern. I think he failed the boss key skip a bunch of times.
Oh.
I think he lost
Well, I failed.
a minute and a half.
I failed Power Glove skip twice, so not an excuse.
And I think he also lost a lot of time to Tower of Hera. I don't remember how many tries it took for the Bomb Rod. But it was definitely more than you, that's for sure.
I also took a while in this case. I'm surprised because I've been getting first tries pretty consistently, but not this time. Another consistent thing is that I've been losing a lot of time at Schoolwood, so I guess I was consistent this run.
He's about to finish.
Not a sub 130, so that feels bad.
So with that, I think I'm playing against him next. Not sure.
What?
Because one of you two would get the 4th seed.
Yeah, whoever lost got the 4th seed.
Or 3rd, I don't know exactly. Yeah, no, it's the 4th one. Okay.
Alright, Benny's on.
Anyway, I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure that whoever won this with at least a sub 130, if I remember correctly, would get 2nd seed, so I guess I'm 2nd seed. I don't know about the other one.
And he finished with 1 hour 33 minutes and 2 seconds.
The stream seems to be a little behind on that, but yep. We didn't even get to see him touch the Triforce, so I guess he died on the way.
Yeah, it happens.
Right, so I swear to God, I'm not this bad at the game. I'm gonna get 124 soon, before bracket maybe.
Well, good luck with that. I guess that's it. Ben said he's not doing interview.
Yeah, apparently he has stuff to do. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just doesn't want to talk. Sometimes it happens. If I didn't win, I wouldn't talk either, based on how bad that run was. Do we have the other race scheduled? I think not.
Is that Ellis and Adius?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think they scheduled yet.
Pretty sure that's the last remaining race that we have in Swiss.
Yeah, that's the last round 4 race that's left.
I don't remember the correct standings, but I think if Idias wins, he's getting 3rd seed. Maybe. I think the only one that knows about this is Jeff, not Ben. Ben is this guy. Try to speed. We don't really have a proper bracket, so there's probably not a command for that.
Okay. I just linked the Google Doc.
All right, let me try to make some calculations, I guess. So Idias is at 1 point, or 3 points rather. Never mind. I think I'm 1 is 3rd seed. Rami is 4th seed with this. And I guess whoever wins in Idias versus Alice is gonna get 5th seed. I don't know if it goes against Rom. Maybe not. I have no idea really. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see eventually.
He's not here.
Oh, Jeff, you mean Purple Photon? Remember, he's
Yeah,
he's
he's-
moving today from his from college. He said he was moving out, so that's why he wasn't able to co-commentate today.
Yeah, college finishes are pretty much right now. I don't know. I have no idea about that because I'm not in the US as usual. But yeah, whenever he gets home, we should have some kind of idea of seats. And we just have that one race left for Swiss round.
Anything else either of you would like to say?
Not really, I'm done for now. I have to grind this a little more and actually get good instead of playing this dumb stuff.
Yeah, Herreteman needs to get good.
Yeah.
Stop doing.
But still, GG
That's
on the
one.
win.
Yes. Alright.
Well, I'd like to.
Thanks for the stream, as usual.
Oh, you're welcome. Maybe I'll see you at Oracle of Seasons Rando this weekend.
Actually, I think it's clashing with the 2E relay race, if it's even happening because some people dropped. Me and Neraxis are gonna be there for both teams.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I think the next thing on the schedule for ZSR is another accessible bracket match between should be a hype match between Bonnaroo and ATZ for Ocarina of Time randomizer. So we'll catch you tomorrow, and until then, have a good night, everyone, and a big shout out to Romulus for joining me on comms today and making this happen. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night, day, evening, morning, wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.